So you've mentioned it briefly, but do you want to talk us through the reasoning behind why there is such a large empty space in the middle, and as you say, the line of sight? But talk us through the reason behind that, and if there's any specific strengths or weaknesses you can think to have such an interesting design choice. I know we speculated in our mission briefing that at the lower section there are lifts for shuttles to come up and down, because that's a natural place to launch fighters, because obviously they could launch and have ample room to leave, and yet the surface area to conceal dozens of hangar bays. So, what are your thoughts on those?
It's kept open just to maintain the continuity of warp engines being able to see each other. Um, Again, originally, some of my earlier drawings just had just a single wing on top with the two warp engines, and then I added the other section below just to give it more carrying capability. Uh, some of the earlier designs actually had this ship. It was my intention to really have this as a vertical ship. Once I got past that kind of an idea, I went to a vertical idea because I thought that would better contrast with the Enterprise, because the Enterprise, all the shapes are predominantly horizontal. So I thought if you had a vertical Warbird set against the horizontal Enterprise, and I did a little sketch to point that out. Rick Berman was in charge of the show by that time, and he insisted that it be horizontal, like everything else in the show. It'd be like a Saturn rocket. Well, let's see, the Saturn rocket should be this way because it fits the screen. There's certain things that are vertical, Empire State Building or towers or whatever, that are simply vertical, and you back the camera. If you go in close and you can't see the top and bottom, then that really tells you how big it is.
That is a good point.
So, especially with the Enterprise being as large as it is.
But are you more happy with the end horizontal result? It looks more bird-like and
Yeah.
like, or is that?
It feels more natural. It feels more naturalistic.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I prefer the vertical layout because people don't do vertical ships, and there's no reason in space not to. As far as practicality reasons, yeah, I suppose horizontal works for the cargo sections and that sort of thing, because our minds say that we need to keep everything on a horizontal, especially with artificial gravity. So, but cargo decks in a vertical system could just simply be stacked. You would have. I did another calendar painting of a vertical capital ship, which is much bigger than this. And those have horizontal cargo decks and flight decks. So they have multiple decks for fighters and other kinds of attack ships, along with everything else, So it really depends. In a weekly TV show, you really don't have a lot of time to design the way that you would if you had like a month to really think it out and plan it out and everything. So the first thing you want to go for is drama. Well, the first thing I want to go for is consistency. Then I want to go for drama and look, and hope the two reinforce each other.
Well, we've seen pictures of this vertical version, and it is pretty amazing. It gives a totally different feel, and it is interesting. It's obviously the same basic design, but everything's flipped. And I think it's probably fair to say that since you are the designer of this original aesthetic, there's variants that are both, because the design could easily be flipped, just mechanically, possibly. I don't think there's that much stopping it. So I'm happy to say there's that version out there as well. We just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's because they kept that hidden. But
exactly, it's too impressive to there'd be two Captain Picard would be like, that's even bigger. Break his mind too much.
But people seem to like this Warbird a lot, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, it is a fan favorite, absolutely. Okay, so here's the model I created, Andrew. Isn't it beautiful? Don't you love my paint scheme where you can see the highlighted feathers?
Those are two different questions. Yes,
feel free to answer both. Is that something you would approve of as the designer, having the bird motif actually highlighted and shown off as in TOS?
Several thoughts are really racing through my mind right now.
Please
Say
go
them
through
all.
them.
I don't care. Bad, good, whatever.
Terrible. Just continue.
Not terrible.
It's a little garisher than I would paint my ship.
Okay, yeah.
Especially if you know. I mean, that would be like having a pink battleship or a day glow aircraft carrier, maybe. I don't know.
I was just trying to keep the TOS aesthetic and have the feather motif really pop. So I don't know. My next part of the question is about these. These are escape pods. You said?
Yeah, lifeboats.
Lifeboats, and here as well, right?
Correct.
Cool. And they're painted nice and gold, just like the Enterprise Ds are yellow. So.
Actually, they're gray, but
I know.
it's a whole different story.
I'm sorry.
But that's nice, because that's one of the things we speculated in the mission briefing. Glad we got that right. Another thing we speculated is if the ship could separate, because when I look at the ship, I see the shapes have natural lines to be removed from each other. I'm very glad you said that the neck can push off, I suppose, and as you said, the bottom bit is a cargo bay. So it's got 3 separation points. Now, was that initially the design concept, that, as you say, it can split into 3? And then what would be the functionality of each separate piece if those lines did exist as a canon piece of tech?
No, the bottom half separating was not really in my original charter, but the front of the Warbird, the head, if you will, I had thought to separate, and it would be there's a neck piece that curves up at the top, just above the eye. There's a piece that comes from the neck. And the top notch fits on top of that. It wraps around and then becomes the rest of the head.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll send you a drawing.
And what functionality did you see this piece having, or in what? Is it very much an escape boat sort of situation, or does it have maybe some faster-than-light capacity itself?
Just a way, in case the rest of the ship had been damaged or was incapable of flight, then, at least a certain faction of the crew could escape in the front part of that.
Although I'm sure, given the size of the ship, if the transporters are offline, if they're told Jerry to run from this side to this side before it separates, I don't think you'd be able to do that run.
Well, the fronters are where all the officers are.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask. So is that, I suppose, weapons? Because you said the eyes weapons, or is that just officers and control interface areas, or what else might be in that section?
Bathrooms.
Very important.
Everyone needs to know where the bathrooms are.
Yes, this is true.
No, I didn't. I really didn't go that far. Just a variety of living quarters and laboratories and more sophisticated things. More of the crew quarters would be in what you would think of as the wings, the upper wing areas. There's a shuttle bay in the back top. So that whole upper area would be basically in this Warbird would be more like shuttlecraft and ancillary ships.
So no windows in the crew quarters then, I take it?
Hell no.
What about the section back here? What was this, engineering or?
Same thing, yeah, pretty much engineering with a warp conduit going to to the top, dividing to go to both engines, top and bottom.
So where are the impulse engines?
That's a really good question. I'd have to look at my drawings to answer that. I would be really surprised if I forgot them.
I would too.
Good question.
Thank you.
Well, maybe Romulans are not impulsive.
So two last questions on the design before we go to the next question. How many crew members do you see on board? First of all.
Wow, probably 10,000. I don't know. The Enterprise, my Enterprise D, was designed for 3,600 crew and officers. I told that to Gene, and he said, Oh, we don't have enough extras to show that, so we'll say it's a crew of 1,100 people. Canon, it's like, but wait a minute, it's an aircraft carrier has way more than that, and it's smaller. To heck with logic. So this ship being larger, now I don't know about the mass on it, and and again, there's cargo spaces and all kinds of other unplanned, unaccounted for at this moment spaces.
Mhm.
So I would certainly say, let's say 5,000, 5 to 10,000. I mean, they could carry troops, that would be jammed in those compartments
With no windows, yeah.
with no windows. They all have iPads.
Yeah, I like it. And this ship is obviously well known for having a cloaking device, and we know that this ship has the original Romulan can cloak, but it's somewhat limited. This one's cloak is pretty much flawless in essence. How big did you see that cloaking device being? Would it take up, a large section of the hull? Do you know where it would have been put, or would it be so small and efficient by now, even though it's having to cloak such a humongous vessel?
I totally agree with you. It would be in the upper section. Again, my upper section is thicker, is meant to be thicker than what it ended up being. But it would be behind, it'd be about midsection.
And you'd have it on the internal space rather than the external for adaptation.
Yeah, it would be up inside that area,
Now, we've also established that this is indeed a deflector and not a plasma torpedo launcher. Now, when you also mentioned that this is a photon torpedo launcher up at the front here, right?
Correct.
So how many photon torpedo launchers did you see it having? Is it just that one? And was there ever any intention of having a plasma torpedo launcher to carry on that TOS weapons design?
Which was half of the design aspect of the original TOS ship.
Yeah.
For me, photon torpedo is generic, like Kleenex is generic for tissues, or Xerox for copiers. So, yeah, it squirted out a big bullet out of that hole. That was supposed to. I thought that I added one on the bottom, but I may not have. Do you see any openings similar to that on the bottom?
No, just where the stand goes.
Yeah. Doesn't count. Okay.
There's this thing here. Could that be a weapon, maybe? I don't know. That looks like a great place to slap a weapon.
It depends on who's looking at it and why.
For such a large vessel, though, and one that you'd assume needs to have a lot of coverage, because basically every other ship in the galaxy is smaller than it. And if you get the shields down, or if you can somehow go through the shields, if you get to fly inside, there's a great shot in one of the video games, one of the animated intros, where a Defiant literally flies through the middle, drops mines, and blows up the middle. Did you see a large variety and implement of pulse defense systems or smaller disruptors all throughout the top and bottom to provide complete coverage to stop these weaknesses potentially in the design? Did you see it being that well armed and that well thought out defense-wise?
No, because I thought it out, so it's not that well thought out. I just assumed that we could rely on all of those external blisters, those ray guns that it has.
And if I count mine correctly, there's 13 of those all over the ship.
Why would I come up with an uneven number?
Maybe these ones aren't really those because they're not the same shape, but
No, they're not.
okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
On the bottom. Are there any on the inside bottom or inside back? Yeah, there's 2.
These ones?
Yeah, those are phasers.
Oh, well, they're flat like these ones though, so I assume that they're not. Might just be the model.
Yeah, it's the model.
Although you did mention a bridge, because we know that the D is far, far smaller, and the bridge is so relatively small, the same size as the TOS, in fact, you said previously, and this ship is so much bigger, so you talk about a bridge design you actually envisioned for this ship.
Yeah, and if you look, it actually looks like there's multiple decks to the bridge, so is that...
Well, where is the bridge? I mean, is it in the front? It doesn't need to be in the front? I mean, where's the bridge, Andrew? Told us about the bridge.
Well, there's one in San Francisco, there's one in New York. In this particular ship, It's not falling down. It's in the kind of the center top-notch part, and it's visible by a small, relatively small oblong shape. It's probably invisible on your ship, but
Yeah.
Stuart,
Probably right about here.
nope.
I don't have any.
Up.
Oh, here.
Up. It's right
Here.
there, but they don't have it in there. Look at my painting, and you can see it. That's weird. It's not in the model. If you look in that red section above the Warbird logo, just above that, you can see the bridge opening and a window. Basically, this has a window. And yeah, this deck is, or this, sorry, this bridge is probably about 4 decks high.
Wow.
Wow.
But it's not particularly deep, just tall, but all present against that window.
Cool.
Of course, they all have their, the window can be used as a view screen, like a liquid crystal can switch in and out between opacity and translucency.
And lastly, what is your favourite and least favourite thing about this design, if you had to say? And is there anything you might have changed, possibly?
Okay, good question. Favorite and least favorite thing about the design. My least favorite thing would be if I forgot the impulse engine. I'm looking at my painting here. That is really weird. I'm sure there had to have been some in that back section, but which may not be on the model.
Might you have integrated
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just integrated them into the nacelle. Maybe that back part of the nacelle is the impulse and the forward part is the... Because, I mean, these are humongous
Or
warp engines.
could it be that some of these feather motifs actually raise and the impulse engine pops up? That would be cool.
Could be. Stay tuned, everyone. Yeah, I really don't have a favorite thing about the ship. I just like it generally.
His favorite thing is that this many years after you design it, that we are here talking to him about it. That is what his favorite thing is.
Well, I am very pleased that the fans like it so much. It's very fulfilling to get that kind of feedback, and that kind of enthusiasm. So,
And you'll have to read the comments below because I'm sure people have a lot of good things to say and a lot of questions, I'm sure.
questions I'm up for, as you guys well know. But and I'll always have an answer. It may not be the right one, but
It might just be yes.
it could be.
And is there anything you'd change? Any little thing, any big thing?
Anything that I would change? Well, I would, if there was time, I would certainly have them go back and flesh out the interior surfaces of those quote wing areas, because otherwise it makes it seem very hollow and weird, to not have the mass that I designed originally into it.
That does make a lot more sense for me now. I think every time I see the model, I'm now gonna mentally add that just to make it make more sense because that's how you envisioned it. It's just kind of a strange thing to do, but
Well, here's a question for your fans. Ask them if they want me to come up with some sort of an ancillary piece to insert into their plastic models. You know what I'm, like an accuratizing kit that.
Yeah, like a resin mold that they can add to make it more Andrew Probert original designish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down.
But again,
for that.
they'll have to look at the drawings to make that determination. But it's just, I never thought about it until now, but it's like, well, with all these printed parts and resin kits and such, that it would be something that they could add to give it to add the logic that I had originally intended.
A very cool and educational episode, to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thanks so much for joining us today, Andrew. It's always great to chat with you, and we definitely look forward to many more episodes with you in the future.
Me too.
Good. All right, guys, that's a wrap, as they say, for this episode. Hope you all enjoyed it, as this was a much requested and speculated on ship from the Star Trek universe. And now we finally have some of those answers, and maybe even a few more questions. And don't worry, we will still be doing a complete info-packed regular Trekyards episode on this great ship so that you can see it with the complete Trekyards treatment. So please stay tuned for that. As always, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe, and head over to Trekyards.com to catch up on any past episodes or even if you just want to contribute to the show and help us out by clicking the donate button. Or if our weekly releases aren't enough for you and you want to have a daily dose of Trekyards, head on over to Facebook and join our Facebook page. So until next time, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Cockins.
I'm Andrew.
Jolan True, everyone.